Okay, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. A very warm welcome. My name is Fred Brown. I'm a partner at Oliver Wyman. We're a management consulting firm and the COO of our 3D carbon accounting team. It's a great pleasure to welcome you to the Innovation Zero Finance and Reporting Forum this afternoon. We've got a great panel lined up for you. And the topic, this is not, ladies and gentlemen, just excellence in supporting sustainability innovation. This is Cambridge excellence in supporting sustainability innovation. It does not get any better than that, and none finer than Viola Jardin, who's going to take us through this session. Viola is the Senior Accelerator Program Manager at the University of Cambridge's Institute for Sustainability Leadership. So Viola, warm welcome to you and your guests. Maybe you could introduce them and over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome, everyone. I know we are the one between now and your lunch. So, but please do, put your passion into the discussion. And later, if you have questions, we will have a Q&A at the end as well. So let me just introduce our panelists. So first on my right is Chris. Chris Gibbs is from Cambridge Enterprise. So it's a part of Cambridge University. And the next one, Sam. Sam is our Senior Director from University of Cambridge Institute for Sustainability Leadership. So as you can see, I already perfection how to speak our institute very long name, but CISL is short. So the next to Natasha, it's a co-founder from Low Carbon Materials. And the next to her is Sushma, also co-founder from Deep Planet. And the one after Spencer, it's from Neutrino. So this panelist is going to share our experience and as well as what is going on in Cambridge and how Cambridge Cleantech ecosystem can be of use and can support the whole net zero transition with every one of you sitting here. So I think to kick off, I'm just going to following an order. So Chris, you are the investment manager from Cambridge Enterprise. So can you, share a little bit with us what Cambridge Enterprise and as well your role in this whole clean tech ecosystem in Cambridge? How does that work, and what do you do, and as well as how do you support this ecosystem?
Right. Thanks, Viola. As Viola said, I'm Chris Gibbs. I'm an investment manager at Cambridge Enterprise, and specifically on the venture arm of the University of Cambridge Enterprise, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. But so Cambridge Enterprise, classic TTO, Technology Transfer Office for the university, so managing the IP for the university, as well as, but I sit at a fairly unique desk there in that we are venture arm. We are investors coming alongside other co-investors into the that come out of the university. So the technology, so we are, and specifically, I'm running. I'll tell you what, we're going to go to the microphone, or I've got a pretty loud voice, even though I've lost it over the past couple of days. It's been a great event, and have been. That one there. It's been a great event, and I've been talking quite a bit. It's been fantastic. Is it on? Okay, fantastic, fantastic. Right. So, I sit at a pretty unique desk within the UK university ecosystem in that I'm a balance sheet investor with a balance sheet investor investing into the spin-outs into the university, specifically looking after the sustainability portfolio. This has been a move and a vision from the university itself. It has shown thought leadership on accelerating their net zero ambitions and putting the 2038 kind of tag on it, to the point where I'm investing up to 10 million into the sustainability portfolio over the next few years. We've already deployed about 4 million of that into companies like Neutrino here today. 4 million over five businesses since I've arrived at Cambridge Enterprise, and over 7 follow-on investments too. So we go through the early stage. We're there for the journey. We're there for the good times. We're there for the hard times as well on that stage. So really supporting that entrepreneurial journey, getting these spin-outs out seeded and out into the world, and very much on my mind as well on that venture arm is the acceleration of these opportunities as well, and looking for the ideas and the ways in which we can accelerate these opportunities, get them out to market faster, bring down this kind of 7-year route to market for a lot of deep tech and sustainability portfolio companies. Very much on my mind. Welcome those ideas. And I think with that, that's a good start, Viola, if I pass the mic.
Right. So I suppose like the next questions are actually to our next parent's son. So CISO has been running accelerator program for 3.5 years, and then we also launched the Canopy last year. So how do you see the role CISO and kind of Canopy play in this like a wider, broader ecosystem in Cambridge Cleantech space?
So thanks, Viola. We are obviously colleagues at CISL, and we are working together on the acceleration programs. What we'd basically like to do at CISL, we are an impact-focused. Our performance metric is impact rather than financial success. And what we'd like to do is to create a micro ecosystem within the global startup ecosystem for sustainability entrepreneurs and for sustainability startups. And we've had a very good start already. We opened our workspace about 6 months ago, before Christmas, in Cambridge. We have some very exciting members in our community and workspace, like these guys here. And we, as Viola pointed out, we've been running acceleration programs now for a couple of years as well. We have 12 under our belt. We've been running programs like a circular economy, women in sustainability, and the built environment focused acceleration program. So again, we are trying to build on this, and we'd like to become the go-to sustainability community for entrepreneurs and startups in this particular space in the world.
Right. So if I can just bring back Chris, and because Chris, you and Sam are sort of in big players in this like a Cambridge ecosystem, Cleantech ecosystem. So could you also share a bit more on what else, like as a players, like except in addition to university itself, what else is here kind of a players, major players in this ecosystem that's from Cambridge as well beyond?
Great, Viola, thank you. And just to say, the Women in Innovation event last year was one of the best accelerator programs that I saw last year. It was really, really well done.
Organized by Viola.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, no. I praised her a lot. I'll praise her on stage now too. It was one of the best. So I think I'll start with the Cambridge ecosystem itself, right? And I think that there's no surprise, or I think that having been in London for 10 years as well, I mean, upon my journey into Cambridge, I was really impressed, surprised at what I call the critical mass. I mean, London has everything. Cambridge has everything. That's less than a 20-minute bicycle ride away. We're talking great money, great talent, backed by highly differentiated science at the university too, which makes my job rather easy in some ways, especially on the technical due diligence side. So in combining that, I mean, so Cambridge Enterprise sees itself as a convener of that ecosystem, but it's great money, great talent, great resources that are there, and that includes the talent, great co-investors. It also includes great organizations like CISL running these accelerators like Women in Sustainability, for instance, among others. It is also an ecosystem with, growing organically in the Cambridge area. We've got Carbon 13 running an entrepreneur-first type accelerator, which has been going from strength to strength with every cohort that they're doing. We have got I&E networking and networking the entire community, and not just the Cambridge community, but elsewhere. We've got Cambridge Cleantech, again, another networking firm that's really making connections through Cambridge into the London area, running great events in both areas. So we've got this what we call the entrepreneurial mindset. I mean, there's also a lot of success stories clearly in Cambridge. 23 unicorns, over 5,000 knowledge-intensive businesses, right? certainly a top 3 global innovation ecosystem and hub, right? Going toe to toe with Boston and San Francisco, right? And it's this critical mass that I've seen, and it was such a shock. Didn't know what to expect there, but that critical mass in Cambridge has been absolutely brilliant, and what makes it one of the most innovative hubs in the world.
So I think on this point, the reason we are having this panel discussion is very much trying to bring Cambridge to you, bring Cambridge to London, to bring Cambridge to the world, as well as vice versa. Because we think as an ecosystem, for impact, for sustainability, we need to open up resources to support one another. And Cambridge, as Chris already laid out, that there are a lot of resources there. I believe there must be startup founders or people working in startup sitting in the audience. You might be looking for, say, talent or engineers or different people to join the team. We want to kind of build these connections, bridge different ecosystems, and so kind of this ecosystem will be even bigger. So I think on that note, it would be quite good to kind of bring in our other panelists in, because they are the staffs who have been through our programs or kind of been through different supports. So first, I want to come to you, Natasha. So you you are the university spin out from Durham University, and then you have been through kind of our manufacturing for good program, CIS around in kind of 20. Trying to see if my mic will work. Okay, without
You're good.
touching.
You're good.
Great. And I think last year you are also the Earthshare Prize Award finalist. Congratulations! That's
Thank you.
one of the most prestigious award.
Thanks.
So I guess the first question that to you is very much, how do you find out about our program? The Cambridge program, and what makes you decide? To join? What makes you decide to kind of participate in the program that Cambridge is running?
Yeah, thanks, Viola. I think it's very easy to see the Cambridge University logo on a lot of these programs and think, well, I'm not a spin out from Cambridge, or I'm not a student there, so therefore it's not for me. We are an adopted member. We are a Durham University spin out, but we've been fully accepted into the ecosystem and taken part in the Manufacturing for Good program. So just a little bit about us. So we make a gravel-like material, so a lightweight aggregate for concrete that significantly lowers the carbon footprint. And thank you for mentioning Earthshot. Yeah, we got the opportunity to be an Earthshot Prize finalist last year, which brought with it a ready-made network and really accelerates us onto the global stage a lot faster than we ever anticipated. We've raised a few rounds of investment, and now we're looking to pilot in collaboration with concrete companies from around the UK, but a few global companies as well. So the Manufacturing for Good program, as part of CISL, how did I hear about it? A lot of people told me about it. So I had a lot of people say, oh, I've been on this. And because it was Manufacturing for Good, a lot of people who were already in my network from a manufacturing point of view or a hardware point of view rather than a software point of view said, you should probably have a look at this program. So we did. And I think being part of a cohort that are in a similar sector to you, having access to the amazing network that you have, the workshops from some of the speakers, I think the one off the top of my head that was great was a sustainability workshop, but it wasn't, this is sustainability, this is what you should do. It was a practical example of, these are the exact metrics that you need to consider, this is what you should do. So it was a really great program for us and a really great cohort and network to be involved in as a Durham University spin-out.
Thank you very much. I think we all agree, only collaborate with each other, then we can go a lot further. So on that note, I'm actually coming to you, Shishima. So you are from the other university. I could see. So in case people don't know, you are the actual Oxford University spin-out. But then you also have kind of participating quite a few of our programs, so you keep coming back to us. And so this is also another great example of collaboration is really key. And I know you guys, ladies, are recently trying to close the run as well, right? So you still have 500K allocation. So if there's any investors, they're looking for good investment opportunities, maybe they can have a conversation afterwards as well. So I guess, Sushima, from your own experience, because you also participate, kind of a Women in Sustainability Innovation Accelerator program that Chris give a high price, and also kind of a net zero accelerator program, and then the final one also you launched a new product with us beginning of this year in March. So what was your experience, particularly also coming from another university, and then kind of embed yourself also in this ecosystem? Can you give us some first-hand experience?
Thanks, Viola. It's not working.
Thanks, Viola. Yeah, it's great to be on this panel and really talk about all the support as startups we're getting. I think for me, it doesn't matter where the support is coming from, whether it's Cambridge or Oxford. I think we need all the support. Same with Durham University or anywhere else, right? And I think these clean tech ecosystems make a big difference to provide the ecosystem support services. How we just launched our product earlier this year has given us a great stage in terms of credibility. We found initial project partners and funding as well. So as part, just going back to where we are a deep tech Oxford company using satellite imagery to monitor agriculture. And one of the first industries we focused on is the wine industry, but also looking at just how do you drive sustainability in land management, looking at carbon in the soil, nutrients, how do you manage water, avoid pesticides, things like that. So it's been over 5 years. We've had great support from Oxford. We actually came out of the MBA program there. We're part of a couple of accelerators there. And so it's driven us in terms of getting us to partnerships with the European Space Agency or driving our initial pre-seed funding. And we found out about the Cambridge programs quite recently, just like as you were saying, through our network, and been part of the Women in Sustainability, been part of the Net Zero program. I think for us, it's been helpful just getting us a credibility of being part of this network, having access to all these different people who can, you just need to find the links. That it doesn't come ready-made, but it's a ready-made network out there that you can use to, get value out of. And that's really where I've seen the benefit, and I keep coming back. And if there are any more programs, thank you.
Thank you, Sushima. And so straight after Spencer, you are Cambridge through and through. I think that was your word. So study in Cambridge University and then carry on, create your start businesses, and then went through the support with Cambridge Enterprise, and then joined our program. So you are the kind of Cambridge overall. Could you then, I guess, to share, kind of so embedded yourself in the whole ecosystem? What are your first-hand experience as a founder?
Sure. Yeah. I'm Spencer. I'm, I guess, Cambridge through and through, as Viola was saying, but I'm Canadian originally, so I don't have a British accent. So actually, I'm Cambridge through and through, but I'm also linked to London. I came down to first to start the company, and then jumped back up to Cambridge. Is it cutting out a little bit? But yeah, so I think I did a PhD in renewable energy electronics. I've been sustainability researcher for 10 years. I'm a physicist and an engineer, but we really just decided how do we bring the innovation as quickly as possible to market that we needed. We have so much knowledge and brilliance locked up in academia, and the thesis was there's just not enough making it into industry, especially around scope 3 and real decarbonization without offsetting. So we that was really our thesis, was how do we do this better? I did that by partnering with the IPCC Industry Action Report 6, or the most recent IPCC report. The lead author of that, John Cullen and his group. So we're developing new models to decarbonize business scope 3 supply chains at source with resource efficiency, so better processes, better resource usage, so increased material circularity, decreasing energy usage, increasing processes. And then we, of course, we were lucky enough to be accelerated by Cambridge Accelerate, CISL, and invested by Chris and his team with CE. So yeah, pretty much Cambridge through and through in terms of innovation, the actual science and technology, which were built out of the university, but also then bringing it to market with some of the world's biggest manufacturers. So yeah, happy to answer any questions on Cambridge.
Yeah, thank you. And I know like in the next few months, you also have some really exciting partnerships to share with people. So if you are interested in this space, maybe you can follow up with Spencer as well as to follow him on LinkedIn. So before we go into the second part of the discussion, I know you are all sitting there potentially thinking about your lunch. So I'm going to just kind of bring your attention back a little bit. So can you hands up if you are startup founders? Or working in a startup. Wow, okay. If you are the investors, okay. And if you are working in a corporate, potential buyers or partners, no? Who are you? That's a very, very interesting. But sure, in this case, I will carry on the discussion, and we will keep a final 10 minutes or so for questions. And obviously, if you have a very urgent, burning questions that you desperately want to throw at the panel, please hand up. We like the personal interactions rather than Slido in this panel. So before any questions actually come to the panel, I actually want to kind of come back to Chris and Sam. So as I know, that Cambridge now as a university as well as a city, it's very much want to try to be more open as possible, and then to engage and to bridge like different ecosystems for entrepreneurs and startups, particularly for sustainability. So from both of your view, what do you think Cambridge can do more in this space? Or what is already going on? You already shared quite a lot, but if there are things that you know is kind of in the planning, kind of going to come soon, please also can share with us, as well as like how do you see Cambridge can play more in, let's say, not just Cambridge ecosystem, but the global system?
So from my perspective, listening to the...
Maybe.
Is this working?
No.
Nope. So from my perspective, listening to the startup stories here and the founders explaining how we've supported them over the last couple of years, what I'd like to do personally is to replicate what we've done with you thousands and thousands of times over. And it doesn't really matter where you come from. You don't need to be Cambridge through and through. However, those founders are obviously more than welcome to join our activities too. But we are definitely open to anyone from any university, including Oxford and Durham. And you know, you don't need to be a UK startup. We like to create a global community for sustainability startups that is basically open to all. And we'd like to see more sustainability startups, number one, and then we'd like to see more sustainability startups succeed as well. Chris?
Absolutely. It's a great question, and I think it's one that's very much on the mind across Cambridge right now. And I'm going to approach it in a couple of different ways. And I think the first way on how we can improve, and I'll be a little controversial here. I think Cambridge can be seen as being, and maybe even recognizes now, that it's a little insular in a lot of ways as well, and that actually, when we look at the numbers, when we look at the data, when we look at, you know, we've got a great story to tell, and actually we need to get a little bit better at self-promotion as an innovation hub, as you know, let our record speak for itself on the innovation front and what we've been able to accomplish on the entrepreneurial front as well, and the investment front as well. And promote that story. Again, you know, the numbers bear it out. You know, we're going toe-to-toe with Boston. We're going toe-to-toe with San Francisco. let's promote that. And I think that that's something very conscious in Cambridge right now, and is part of the drive of Innovation Cambridge going forward as well, where we're going to try to pull that story together and be able to tell it on a global stage in first part. Going straight to sustainability, though, and of course, as in the team think about it, a ton of carbon today is worth a hell of a lot more than a ton of carbon in 2049, right? And so we're always looking to how do we accelerate these opportunities? How do we get them to market faster? What can we do? In the first instance, for instance, to look at Spencer there, it was to get him started with pre-seed investment, right? And to be able to get in there with pre-seed investment, give him the capital to start building his team, get the product market ready, get it out into and get it out into the public. That's one way. I think that we're always looking for, and it comes down to two things, and I'll get on my soapbox a little bit. We're going toe-to-toe with Boston and San Francisco. Need to start thinking about how we can get the resources in place to be more bullish, especially in this space, and get on a kind of U.S. type venture model, venture cap, getting more money in, getting it in earlier, bringing more high value add investors around the table with a bit higher risk appetite. I think it's justified in sustainability and something we need to do. And I think, again, with that promotional piece, we've got great talent, especially in certain sectors in Cambridge. I mean, and they're literally a bicycle ride away. Folks who have been there, done that, have got the T-shirts, and are able to help those businesses. Good management teams early. Just making sure that we can get what I call the NED talent into these businesses sooner, the sector experience, the industrial partnerships. One of the things that I will say within our specific portfolio, high flyers have been those with really, really good strategic investment that are going in and strategic partners. Got to be really good. It can cause some friction at times too when you're going into the deeper rounds. But those have been the high flyer in our portfolio. Some thoughts for me, but I think I'd love to hear from the spin-offs themselves and what they think is needed too.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Sam. So I guess now we sort of talk from the university side, like what we think or what they think that Cambridge can offer and going forward. But then again, flipping to the other side is that from a startup or entrepreneurs in the sustainability space, what do you expect or what do you want Cambridge to do more into this space? So Sushma, you have the microphone with you, so maybe you can kick off on this one.
Okay, yeah, I can take this one. So I think a couple of points, just looking at it from one university and being from one university and kind of also looking at it from the other one. What I've always felt is like we often work as separately as clusters, and I know there's a lot of work going on to integrate and what we've been talking about, but basically driving more collaboration between these ecosystems could massively benefit all these startups coming out of these universities. And it doesn't just have to be Oxford and Cambridge. There are so many of these universities with rich technology or other programs. And that comes to my second point, I think, where I would see a lot of startups would benefit is not necessarily having the technology come out of the universities. A lot of times the innovation funds or whatever you want, university innovation funds, fund businesses which have technology coming, a research that comes out of the university. Yes, great. I mean, this is quite unique, and it's a lot of risk. Yes, the university invests in it, but I think a lot of area gaps that are there is the funding that doesn't essentially go to companies which don't bring research exactly from the university that they can have a stake in. And I think there is a lot of opportunity there to promote some of these businesses or some of these ideas, and all the people in driving these businesses are actually quite talented entrepreneurs, and the money doesn't go as much as it does into research, I think. So those are the two areas I'd love to see more progress, and yeah, it's great to be on this panel to talk about it so we get a bigger audience.
Thank you, Sushma. Natasha, how about you?
Yeah, I think it's really common, not just in a university environment, but in the corporate environment, that we all work in silos. And I think you mentioned it at the start. I think the knowledge share piece is now my mic's gone. My mic was good. So I think just knowledge and collaboration between completely different companies, completely different sectors. I think the urgency of climate change and reaching net zero isn't potentially talked about enough or understood, and we're not going to achieve net zero if we don't work together. We have a potential project coming up where we've brought two big corporates who are competitors, and we've said let's work together, let's try and find a solution here, and that was really special to me because it shows that actually there is urgency here where competitors can work together and try and find solutions to this, and it's financially beneficial for all parties as well. So I think there's a lot on the knowledge share piece. And I think an extra point that I heard in one of the talks this morning, we have so much innovation. There is so many exciting startups around, but it's the funding gap or the incentives or the policy that goes alongside that to make sure that the startups are successful. So I would say they're my two key points, making sure that policy and funding is supporting the great ideas that already exist, and also a knowledge share piece as well.
Thank you, Natasha. Spencer, how about you?
Also, 2 points for me. One, I was going to be controversial, but Chris took it. Yeah, definitely a more American-style investment market, transferring out innovation from the university. Absolutely, it's just not bullish enough. There's not enough capital. It's our responsibility as thought leaders to bring innovation to market and to change the way the world works, and that happens in Cambridge with science, but it needs to happen more in innovation, especially in sustainability innovation. It's been great hub for biotech. It's now time for sustainability to come in and have its day. And I think that's really where Chris is leading the way, which is fantastic. And then the second thing is CISL has probably the best network of CSOs around the world in corporates. So a more, let's say, streamlined pipeline of connections to these CSOs. They can tap the innovation because a lot of these big companies have innovation arms that they're looking for just the latest and greatest research or innovation, but they just don't know where to find it, and it's really hard for them to get inbound. So to have that pipeline of the capital to support the entrepreneurs and the innovation, and then the pipeline to deploy it as quickly as possible is absolutely the key, I think, for me. So.
Thank you. So on that, Sam, is there anything that you would like to add? That any kind of activities or kind of initiatives, things that around the CISO is doing, could really kind of support entrepreneurs in this space?
So, one example that I probably should mention, we just started a program together with BSI, British Standards Institution, focused on trust in sustainability. So we are looking for startups and technologies that could potentially help in monitoring and in the analytics side of things and in validating sustainability-related data. And what is really great about this program is that BSI has committed themselves to run pilots with each one of the participating startup companies. And this type of a corporate startup collaboration is something that we would like to promote further and to see a lot more at CISL and in Cambridge.
Thank you. I think on our kind of entrepreneurs comments there, I think we as a university, as well as an ecosystem, that we really want to try to be more open and to connect and then to bridge kind of ecosystems here in UK as well Europe and as well as US. So if later on anyone want to kind of have further discussions, please do come forward and reach to our panelists to have more discussions. Now I think it's about time for the audience. So if anyone have a question for either our entrepreneurs or our colleagues here or panelists here, please do
To raise one hand, please.
to raise hands, and then we will pass the microphone to you. And if you could kindly just quickly introduce yourself so we know who you are, that would be great.
Sure. Hello, my name's Mark and I work at a small engineering consultancy called Evergreen Innovations. Thank you very much for all your insights on the panel today. It's been really interesting. And I was wondering about the skills gap, because I've heard that mentioned a lot here, and whether that is something that is actually affecting the companies that you're trying to build at the moment. Thank you very much. Or whether it's something seen more generally by the CSIL.
CISL.
CISL, sorry.
Yeah, sure, I can take this. So we're kind of in between manufacturing and tech. So we have kind of both arms. And yeah, there is a skills gap in the manufacturing side of things. So making sure that we're training people out from apprenticeships or routes that maybe aren't university for the manufacturing side. Within the built environment as a whole, that's a really widely recognized skill gap. In terms of the kind of more tech side and innovation side, we're not seeing it too much, but that doesn't mean that it's not on my radar. We work with a lot of people who help with recruiting for climate tech companies, so they're a great help. But for us, it's more on the kind of manufacturing production side at the moment.
Maybe I can just jump in a little bit on here. I think because we run quite 12 programs in the last 3.5 years. So a lot of founders that we talk to, after they perhaps reach to post-seed or C stage or Series A, yes, that what you are saying in terms of skill, gap, talent, recruitment, it's one of the biggest challenges for founders. And because what they have to do is that they need talent, but then they are still a startup. They don't necessarily have the wonderful Google package or Microsoft package that can pay shit out of money with a lot of benefits. So they really have to drive the selling point on the purpose of the businesses. So they will then attract certain type of talents. But then they do kind of come across the challenges in terms of the young talents or engineers or kind of coders, program developers. How can they attract them to actually come to work with them with these startup companies? So it is a common, definitely a common challenges for certain stage of startups. Yeah.
I think Chris wanted to add something. Yep.
Hi. Yeah, this is a topic very much on the mind of Cambridge, and specifically on that town versus gown dynamic that's there as well. I also sit on the board of 3 companies that are setting up manufacturing facilities within the Cambridgeshire area as well, right? And even last week at Cambridge Tech Week, our inaugural Cambridge Tech Week, one of my CEOs who is has grown a business up to 250, just acquired a San Diego company as well, which was recently announced, needing, the skill gap there, especially at the growth stage, as Natasha said, is real. We won't mention the B word as well, but that was one of the very big laments from one of my CEOs at Cambridge Tech Week last week as well. So it's a challenge. It's one that we're thinking about and want to solve. One other point there too, always NAD talent as well. We can't get enough.
Yeah.
More questions.
Hiya, my name's Stephanie. I find it very interesting, your discussion. I must caveat and say I actually grew up or spent part of my teenage years in the Cambridgeshire area. It's very interesting. I have actually worked on the science park as a teenager too, had a bit of a lab job. I just wondered, now you make a very interesting point about town and gown, and this person mentioned about skills gap here too. What are you doing for the communities of Cambridgeshire? Because you're talking about all this lovely investment, but actually I've got somewhat of a background in economic geography too. What are you doing to grow areas bring people in at the ground level to grow these companies? Because really that's how, you know, a lot of actual companies scaled up. I mean, you have to look at something like Amazon. I mean, it started really small, and, you know, he definitely probably wasn't using people who were necessarily, you know, had got PhDs and everything to do the really basic work. What are you doing yourselves to make these things happen? I'm really curious. Have you got any sort of direct experience of working with the local Cambridgeshire communities who may not be, you know, from as educationally privileged backgrounds as yourself? And what are you doing? Can you give demonstrations? It's lovely to talk about it, but what actions are you taking? I'm just really curious, because it is political, but there's also the local politics of it too.
I think the best and the most straightforward is it's very much on our mind. We know we need to do more. It is a tenet of the Innovation Cambridge process and things that we're thinking about is exactly that issue. How do we, especially in Cambridge, how do we connect to the, you know, and so that's, and again, it's going to be the triumvirate of industry, government, and the university itself, right? And so that is what Innovate Cambridge is trying to do. It's a, you know, and that is still a work in progress. I think that we're going to make the big announcement in October on that. It is a pillar of what we're thinking about there. So as far as, you know, so there's already engagement with the local council with going on with that. Clearly our, you know, and indeed our spin-outs, our CEOs and our management teams there are talking about it openly, trying to make the connections on how we can improve that. And I think that it's something that we will be working on going forward. Probably under that flagship, as I've said, with that. But it's something that we know we need to do more on, something that we're thinking about, and something that we're starting to action now. Spence.
Yeah, I think I can take part of this. I think Cambridge, the innovation, so maybe skills gap aside, but the innovation that's come out of the university has changed the world. I would say for the better, I'd hope. Certainly the science has. From our side, we think of the innovation as being able to deliver to SMEs. Right now, enterprises have all these tools that they can use to decarbonize, and then they have a very expensive sustainability consultants, McKinsey, they can bring in all these kind of things. That doesn't help the 99% of businesses in the UK who struggle to understand, you know, what net zero is and what they can do on a day-to-day level and how they can actually fight inflation and also decarbonize and be more competitive at the same time. So yeah, that's how we think about and position ourselves to try to help all size industries, specifically SMEs, to decarbonize. And as an example, we do that with 3 local companies in the Cambridgeshire area already, helping them understand their Scope 3 emissions and get on a trajectory for net zero or absolute zero, as we call it. We also are now starting partnerships with manufacturers who are typically outside of London in the southeast. Massive gap, obviously, and so we're thinking of ways to help, for example, a refractory company from the 1800s start being more energy efficient and more material efficient as well. So I think those are some of the ways that our innovation comes outside in Cambridgeshire regionally, but outside in the UK and hopefully in the world. So, yeah.
Can I quickly add to that? So we're still based in the Northeast, so this is something that I care about a lot. And as a startup, you have such limited resources and time. So some of the things that we're doing is engaging with apprenticeship programs, bringing in work experience students, but also engaging with larger companies who have programs where they bring people in from schools or they host work experience weeks or something, and just engage with that, even if we just give a couple of hours of our time just to tell them about what we're doing and the career trajectory or skill up in that way. So I think we're limited as a startup, but I think you can engage in a few different ways.
I think we have we can take one final questions.
Hello, sorry, my name is Mick. I'm an advisor. A question for Sam and for Spencer. Why do you think that university commercialization output is still so infant and so relatively immature? I look at the US, having lived there for 8 years. The fact that you said very proudly you have 10 million of funding in the venture space for research output from a university, that is nothing. Why is that?
I think I'll start. I have no idea why there's not enough funding. That's what I was lamenting earlier. Yeah, I'm from Canada. We also have a very restricted and conservative innovation sector in terms of spin-outs. Absolutely, we need funding. There's no question. In terms of getting the money in terms of getting the innovation out, I guess combining those two things, the way I really see it is academics are typically not great at innovating. There needs to be more of a structure around people who are confident enough to bring on academics into the companies and get them to create things that can be used in commercial settings. So, for example, the big IPCC professor I work with, it took me years to get his support and credibility because he's putting his name on these things and he's built up his name over 20 years. So it's partly that gap there between getting the academics behind innovating, and then of course, like you said, 10 million is just not enough. It needs to be 1, 2, 3 orders of magnitude more than that in Cambridge. Absolutely. I would like to see a lot more of the endowment going towards sustainability and away from, for example, fossils and things like that, which there is a lot of push in Cambridge for, but that's my take.
In fairness to the endowment, they are cutting out the fossil investments.
Yeah, I know.
That's right. Sam, do you have anything you want to add on that one?
No, I think it's a good question.
Need the mic, I think.
It's a very good question, and I think this problem just doesn't apply to the UK. I've been working with a university in Finland, where I'm originally from, and they have exactly the same issue. Getting researchers into the mindset of being an entrepreneur and wanting to commercialize their innovation and technology is not the easiest thing in the world to do, and we are trying our best. I appreciate that in the US they are a little bit more advanced in this regard and a little bit more successful. I think it might be down to the cultural differences in between the US and us in Europe.
I think on that, we are trying, and we will carry on trying. That's probably the line to close this panel discussion. Thank you very much, everyone, and thank you, our panel.